Hello everyone, here from Manila, Philippines. As you have seen, some of the channels, obviously the programs in this channel and other channels are in Tagalog. Well, today it's going to be in English because John Lazarus is here. Thank you so much for visiting with us. You were here with us before, and today you just popped in and you're popping out, and I'm not sure exactly where you're coming and going from, but Thailand, I believe.
Coming from Thailand and on my way back home to Hawaii. Okay, so
just looking at you here, you're a picture of health.
By God's grace.
I always see you, I've seen you for 15, 16 years or more, and you're always jogging, running, zipping here and there. What do you eat?
I've been eating a vegan diet for almost 40 years. I became vegetarian 45 years ago in 1973.
Wow.
We didn't even use the term vegan back then. We were calling it total or pure vegetarian or strict vegetarian. But when I heard about that a few years after I became vegetarian, I said, I want to do this diet. This is the right diet. It will maintain health, and I feel good about it. And I've been eating this way ever since.
So, you know, I look at my hair here in the screen, I can see in the monitor, I've had blonde hair all my life. It's kind of getting a little bit gray around the edges. I have a friend who actually, he harvested green vegetables, he juiced them, and he started drinking a lot of that green juice, and his hair, which was gray, went back to brown, which was his original color. Your hair is brown at 65 years old.
Never colored it, don't need to, this is my natural color.
So I'm just telling you that the nutrients that you take into your body actually affect the color of your hair.
Absolutely, and it affects our aging process. We're all aging, but we can slow it down by what we eat and how we eat and eating properly. Now, along with the eating is exercise, fresh air, sunshine, all the true remedies. And I like to follow all of that and live the way that God would have us to live.
Keep talking.
The Bible says that God honors those who honor Him. And I believe that He has honored me with good health and a blessed life because I've been following this health message this many years. It's been a blessing.
So you give God the credit and the honor and the glory for this.
Absolutely, 100%.
You know, what do you say? I got to ask you, this is a difficult question. I'd like to know, let's say there's a guy, and this is true, it's happening all over. There's a guy that's smoking, drinking, you see him out at night, and he's smoking a cigar or a cigarette like George Burns, he's in his 90s. And then you see someone who's, for example, a vegetarian or a vegan, and they're 4-stage cancer and they're dying and they're maybe 30 years old. Can you, I mean, that's the question that people ask me all the time. You answer it and then I'm going to answer it.
Well,
maybe together we can come up with a reasonably decent answer.
Yes, there are other factors besides diet involved in our health. There's stress, there's pollution, there's environmental chemicals and hazards and whatever that we breathe, that we live with all the time. So some of these people may be eating well, may be exercising and doing a lot of the right things, and yet they may get cancer or some other disease from some other way. Whereas the guy who is smoking and drinking and all this and has a longer life, my father is an example. He lived to age 87 as an alcoholic, smoker, and all these things. Whereas most people thought he would die much younger because of his lifestyle. He had strong genes. He had a strong constitution and worked in the outdoors and the fresh air. So there are other factors that can make some live longer even if they have a bad diet, and others that eat right and live right might pick up the environmental hazards and die younger.
So for those of you watching, the study of epidemiology, or a doctor who specializes in epidemiology, an epidemiologist, you could say, is the study of disease per specific area. For example, a specific country, say the Philippines, the United States, China. So you've heard of the Framingham study of China?
Of course.
Okay, so some of the largest studies ever, that was one of the largest studies ever done, and you take a populace, or let's say there's a room with 100 people, okay, and you've got 50 here doing this and 50 half and half doing something else. When let's say 99% of the people that do a specific thing get sick and die, or they get very, very ill, you can pretty much conclude that what they're doing has some great effect. The other side does something similar or different. For example, something healthy, drinking water, going to sleep at night on time and getting rest and all of those things, fresh air and eating nutritious diet. And those people don't get sick at all, and you check their physical, everything, you know, they do a complete physical, and their blood pressure and all those things are perfect or good, or 90 big percentage of them. You know that what they're doing is good.
Sure.
It's just that in this pool of people, 7 billion, 8 billion, whatever it is now, there are some exceptions, like you're saying, with genetics, and it's really interesting. I always thought if you could take a person that would live to 100 smoking and drinking and put them on a vegan diet, they'd live to 250 or,
well,
you know,
whatever, at least another 20 years.
There's actually evidence now, I've been researching some of this, of individuals in certain countries, like for example China, up in the mountains in the Himalayas, that are over 200 years old. I mean, that's what they're saying.
I've never heard that, but I do know that documented studies of the people in Hansa some years ago, 120, 130 plus. So
right.
Our bodies are made to live much longer than 70 or 80 if we take care of them and eat and live properly,
right,
and are in a good environment, and not breathing bad things.
Right, they can't be recognized by global whatever because of they don't have their printed birth certificate, but there are people out there. I have a National Geographic that researched a guy 265 years old, and I still have it, and he was out in the field working. He wasn't in a convalescent hospital, or, you know, you're supposed to live healthy and die in your sleep at an old age without pain and no doctors.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the way it's supposed.
And that's how the Hansa people have done.
I know you have to rush to the airport. I want to tell you, God and Jesus is my inspiration and my desire for everything. My father taught me these principles, and he was a living example. At 90, he was so strong. At 100, his mind was perfect. Yes, 100 years old, my father's mind was perfect. I mean, sure, there was some forgetful stuff for right now, stuff happening, but he could remember, you know, in the past, and he could talk, and he could reason, and he had his intellect. And he did die at home in his sleep at night without pain, and he said, son, if you do these things, this is what will happen. And he did them, and that's what happened. And so it's hard for me to you know, look beyond that and say it wasn't true when I actually saw it. And you know what was interesting is I saw his brother and all the other family that on that side, his brother's son, who became a doctor, a medical doctor, and went down the other route, eating basically a standard American diet, you know, a little bit better, no pork, no red meats, but they were eating the whiter meats, which are actually more, you know, deadly for you, but people think it's this marketing thing that's out there, you know. And they had all the surgeries, hip replacements, open heart surgeries. They died young. They lived a poor quality of life because they were obese, they were sick, and you know, I don't even care if my family are watching this. They have never spoken to me because, you know, it's interesting, it kind of separates people. You eat that and that, so I'm not going to talk to you. Well, guess what? I talk to everyone no matter what they eat. I love everyone no matter what they eat and what they do.
Yes.
And I don't believe that it's this matter of you got to do this or that and eat this or that in order to be in heaven. God wants our heart. He wants our love for Him. And when we do that, we automatically want to make Him happy. We want to live for Him. And so we're seeking ways to know how to live for Him, whether it's our diet, whether it's our lifestyle, which is basically a part of our diet. So God bless you and thank you. Go ahead and share some things for the last year. And look into the camera over here, guys.
And I can say that I just got back from Chiang Mai, Thailand, where one of the places I share literature. Literature ministry is one of the #1 things that I do to get God's message out, message of health, message about God, about Jesus. And some very nice books are printed now in the Thai language. I'm able to secure them through a church there in Chiang Mai, Thailand. And just a few days ago, I handed out another bundle of health and gospel literature, and even the people there, mostly Buddhists, very graciously accept, especially they love anything about health. We have a book that tells about the 8 true remedies, the good nutrition, fresh air, exercise, rest, trust in God, and so on, and how important these things are. And we're scattering these everywhere we can to get the message out in the Thai language to the Thai people, as well as the little book Steps to Christ. And these are some of the books we have in English that we have shared here in the Philippines, as well as back home in the USA and other places that I've been, among many, many other
Amen. Well, praise
books
the Lord
that we
for
share.
that. I see some people watching here, and I'd like to kind of clear the record and say something for the record here. You know, it's interesting how people are. They think in a human realm so much that they're not thinking of the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, oh yeah, we saw Stephen and John, they're doing this and that and the other. They must be working together. Well, okay, what does that mean, you know? I love you, John.
And I love you too. You're my
Thank
brother.
you. Thank you. Does that mean like we're like partners, or we love the same God?
Amen.
We want to live for Him. I saw when you came to Hawaii there in Molokai, and you had a passion. You were the only one passing out great controversy, the only one passing out steps to Christ, the only one on a daily basis, but especially on Sabbath, out going up and down the street, passing them out, not by the hundreds, but you brought in a 40-foot container.
20 foot.
Oh, is it 20?
Container.
Are you sure? No.
20-foot container of 20 pallets.
I bought a 20-foot container, and I know how big it is.
Uh-oh.
Yours was a 40.
Yeah, I had a 40, but the books that we got in the tabloids they came in a 20-foot, and then we transferred a lot of those into
well, I
my
just
40.
remember the 40 because
40-foot container.
you asked me if you could put it on my property, and I said yes, and I was very happy to do that.
Yes.
But I got a lot of, and just put it the record, I got a lot of flack for that, if you remember, from the local people and people involved even in our church, publishing in the magazines that, they were against it, not to take the literature and stuff like that.
Very sad.
I remember an article put out there to kind of combat what you were doing that said, John is talking about fundamentals of our church, like the Sabbath, and we do not believe in giving these to people right up front, but to gradually present them.